In today's video, I'm going to tell you about the wacky bit of circumstance that allowed me to buy this broken pinball machine and save thousands of dollars. Pull up a comfy chair, grab some popcorn, let me regale you of the tale of this ridiculous bit of circumstance that allowed me to buy this Hobbit Pinball Machine for $3,000. Yes, that is an absolute steal of a deal, and it was one of those too good to be true type scenarios that actually ended up being true in the long run. Now, I'm always on the hunt for a project pinball machine. That's literally the only way I've built my collection, is to find beaten, battered, abused machines that need TLC, restoration, love, rework, that kind of thing. That way I can save lots of money because these things are stupid amounts of money. It's a money pit of a hobby, but it's an enjoyable one. I love it. So I'm always scouring Facebook Marketplace, Pinside, Craigslist, eBay, those type of places looking for a deal. As luck would have it, one Sunday morning, it was storming like crazy. I woke up, it was like 4:30 in the morning, couldn't go back to sleep. So pulled out my phone, start scrolling on Facebook, look on Marketplace, and I see this listing. It says Hobbit video game, $3,000. And I immediately recognized it as the Hobbit by Jersery Jack. And I was like, that is an absolutely incredible deal. Surely it's not gonna work. And I've seen a lot of deals like that pop up over the years where they are essentially too good to be true. And a lot of times what happens is either A, it sells in like 5 minutes to the first person that messaged them and first person that got to their door, or B, it's a scam. This person lived probably 4 hours away from me in a different state, and I was like, okay, well, I'll message them, but chances are, if this is the real deal, it's gonna go to somebody that lives closer because they're gonna be Johnny on the spot. So I look at the listing, and they just posted it less than 10 minutes ago, and I was like, wow, that's kind of crazy. It's, you know, butt crack early in the morning. So I messaged them, said, yeah, interested. I'd love to buy this machine. When's a good time to pick it up and pay you? And I wasn't really expecting anything. I was like, maybe in the middle of the day I'll get a message that says, you know, sorry, I sold it to somebody else, because that's how these things typically go. Lo and behold, a minute later I get a message back, said, yeah, sure, it's available, you can come. This is where I live, where do you live? And I was like, okay, well, I live several hours away from you, but I can get in the car right now, and I could be to your house probably at like 10 o'clock this morning. She said, okay, that's great. I'll see you on the way. And I was like, great, cool, what's your address? And she's like, well, I'll let you know my specific address once you get to town. And I was like, okay, red flag. That just seemed weird to me, but I also kind of understand it because, you know, you don't want to give out your home address to lots of people on the internet, especially if you got lots of messages on a particular machine, something like that. So I said, okay, and I immediately started looking at this person's profile. I'm like, all right, has she actually posted something? Is it a hacked account? Does this look like a scammer? All these type of things. And all the boxes were, you know, being unchecked. This looked like a legitimate person selling a legitimate item, had legitimate sales history, no, you know, kind of questionable things going on their profile. So I was like, okay, well, I'm like, I don't have anything else going on. I mean, worst case scenario, I take a road trip to a different, you know, state and town, and maybe I'll stop at a cool place on the way there or back, you know, have a story to tell if, you know, nothing comes of it. So I said, okay, great, getting in the car now. I'll be there by, you know, 10:30 in the morning. Let me know if anything changes. So I get in the car, start driving several hours. I'm probably, you know, a little ways away from the town, but very close. And at this point, I get a notification on the Facebook Messenger app, and I get a message, and it's from the seller. And I was like, oh, wonder what she has to say. And I click it open. She says, sorry, sold the machine to somebody in town. And immediately just, you know, the rage and the disappointment is bubbling up in me. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. So I messaged her back. I'm like, are you kidding me? Are you serious? Like, I'm literally 10 minutes away from you. Like, you told me you were gonna hold this for me, and I told you specifically that I was on my way and then I was gonna be here at this time. And then the longest 10 minutes of silence transpires. Messenger comes back up again. I get another notification. She says, okay, you're right, you can have it, here's my address. And I'm like, holy cow, I'm beyond excited. And let me tell you folks, this is how risky this whole situation was. I didn't have my normal vehicle that I pick up pinball machines with. My wife was out of town, she had our van that I would pick up a machine. I drive a small SUV that does not fit a pinball machine in it. So I drove several hours into a different state to pick up a pinball machine with a vehicle that I knew couldn't even possibly pick up the pinball machine. And then I finally drove to this person's house about 10:45 that morning, and I was blown away because it was in a gated community that I needed an access code to get into, and it was all these multi-million-dollar houses, and I was like, okay, maybe this is legit. Arrived at this immaculate mansion, meet these wonderful, nice people, and I get there, and she says, I told you it was working. Unfortunately, it's not. So I'm like, oh, okay, that's slightly alarming. Let me look at the machine. So I'm looking over the machine, and it looks pristine. And she's like, yeah, we bought it several years ago from a distributor. We bought it for the kids, enjoy it, and we haven't played it in many years. Last she knew it was working, but when she actually tried to turn it on, it didn't work. So I got to looking at it. Everything appeared there. They had keys, manuals, and everything. It wasn't abused. It just looked neglected. It was covered in dust. Just looking through the playfield glass, I saw the rubbers had been dry rotted, and I was like, oh wow, this truly hasn't been played. But the playfield itself looked pristine, and I was like, okay. I opened up the coin box, looked inside, computer, everything was supposed to be inside the machine was there, and I was like, okay, well, I'm like, I'll be blunt with you. And I told the owners, I'm like, this machine is worth more than you're asking, even in broken condition. And they're like, well, we just need the space, and honestly, we're just happy to get rid of it. You're here. She's like, I feel bad that you drove all this way. I told you it was working. It's not working. It was giving me the impression that she was expecting me to haggle the price down even more. And I was like, look, it's worth more than what you're asking. I'm comfortable giving you what you're asking as is condition right now with it not being working. I'm like, I imagine it'll be a simple fix for me. I'm like, if you're okay with that, I'm okay with that, and we can make a deal. And she said, yeah, sure, let's make a deal. We shook on it. I gave her the $3,000, and I said, one second, I've got to go switch vehicles because I didn't drive a truck. And she's like, what do you mean? I was like, well, I wanted to look at the machine before I bought it, make sure I actually wanted to buy it. I didn't have the right vehicle today, so I said, I'll be right back. So I drove to the nearest U-Haul location that had a truck that I could rent, rented a truck, came back to the house, loaded up the machine, paid for it and everything, and drove 4 hours back to my home in a rented vehicle, unloaded the machine, got it home, started looking at it, quickly realized that the power cable in the back had become disconnected from the actual joint inside of the machine. Took it apart, put it back together, plugged it in, turned it on, boom, and it turned right on. And I was like, holy cow, we are in business. Tried to start a game, started, but it wouldn't play. None of the flippers worked, slingshots, there was a lot of, high-powered coils weren't working. So I was like, okay, this could be a lot of things, but opened the hood, lifted the playfield, saw everything was, in pristine condition. I was like, all right, that shouldn't be any major issues. So opened up the computer, saw there was a couple of wires in the back, kind of crammed together, and it looked like it probably had caused an arc, and lo and behold, found 2 blown fuses that controlled high power coils like flippers, slingshot, pop movers, things like that. Replaced those quickly, and bada bing, bada boom, put everything back together, and it was a fully functional, fully operational game, and didn't have any real major issues after that. I was just blown away, after this crazy long day and, jumping through hoops to get this home and see it actually worked and didn't have ridiculous issues. Like I expected, even at $3,000, I was still going to be okay if it had issues. But thankfully, they were all minor. And I was super stoked to get this game for a heck of a price. It needed some cleaning up. I gave it a quick shop job, replaced all the rotted rubbers because literally they were dry rotted from lack of use, which is something crazy to think of for a game that's relatively 10 years old. But gave it a shop job, gave it all brand new clear Titan rubbers, put some inner art blades on there because I love those on all my games. Even gave it a little basic topper, RGB illumination, sound activated, and things like that. This model was autographed by Jersey Jack in gold ink on the back glass, which I thought was kind of funny. The only real issue I had with this machine was Smaug's jaw when I got him. He was like kind of slack-jawed and sideways, and I had to disassemble the mech and straighten it up, and then now he's up and down. It works great, and he's not talking like a slack-jawed hillbilly or anything like that. Other than a couple of fuses, a quick rubber change and shop job, and then just re-straightening of Smaug's jaw, this thing works like a champ, has no issues whatsoever. I was even blown away when I was looking at the records and everything. It was running the original code, had never been updated, and thus showed the original play count, and it hadn't even been played 500 times. And for a game that's 10 years old and really fun to play, I thought that was amazing. But it also lent to, you know, their story. They said, yeah, we've had this for numerous years. We haven't played it in numerous years. We got it for the grandkids and the kids, but no one ever plays it anymore. And this is the limited edition version specifically. We got the Invisiglass, comes with the shaker motor, you know, Jersey Jack staple, 27-inch high definition screen. It's got that bronze kind of vein looking powder coat all around, you know, legs, armor, hinges, that kind of thing. The cabinet condition was immaculate. It didn't have a mark or a nick on it or anything like that. So it cleaned up great, works great. Best deal I've ever got, hands down. It's just super fun to play, and I'm not going to talk about it. I'm just going to show you the gameplay of this great game that was the luckiest pickup of my life.
Welcome. We've had time. Is hardwood one of your material? Beg your pardon. Choose the right one. Going for an adventure!
yet never grows.
It's the beast! Beast! The 30 white horses are ready. First they chant, then they stand, then they stand still. Hinges, key, or lid, yet golden treasure inside is hidden. It's the beast! Beast Super Jackpot! Here is another ball. Beast Jackpot! Beast
Feast, Jack. 2, 1. Time's up.
We're surrounded!
Hit the spider. Hit the spider. Hit the spider. Yes. Multi-ball! Jack, my arm is iron. Jackpot! No blade can pierce me.
They get finished.
My claws are steel. Jack the Super! Jack! Jackpot! I will show you
It's got too many wolves.
I'm going to let them
Oh. Wow.